director of the Center for Slavic, Eurasian, and East European Studies at the University of North Carolina. Okay, so Graeme, when we're trying to sort out the obvious question here, how to get Russia to stop its advance in Ukraine, how to bring it to the negotiating table, what we've seen over the past 2 days is they're willing to attend, which one might say is remarkable in itself, but they're not willing to budge on any of their demands. Do you see that changing anytime in the near future as they continue to face resistance in Ukraine, as well as absolute isolation in the world?
Sadly, I don't. We have a situation where the initial Russian advances have been set back. The world has responded very firmly, and yet, even though Lavrov is willing to meet, the lies and preposterous statements that he makes after the meeting suggest a lack of good faith.
Yeah, agreed. So what we're seeing today are a couple of things happening. We're seeing European countries meeting and pledging to double the aid for military assistance to Ukraine that they have. We're also seeing Russia accepting as well as calling for volunteers from other countries. Do you think either of these things will make a difference in the course of how this has been going?
So I think the European aid is significant. It's a lot of money, and it's also they're willing to provide lethal aid. So that'll make an actual difference on the front lines. In terms of the international volunteers, I think there'd like to be very small numbers that are of symbolic importance on both sides, perhaps. But I don't think that's going to be a very significant factor here.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that Russia is even admitting, I guess you might say, the need for that sort of thing. What Russia has exposed here is its barbarity, its determination to continue on this path, even with the world calling for a change. But it's also exposed real problems with its military and its command and control once it's committed to doing something.
Most military experts in the United States that I talk to are really surprised by the tactics, by the lack of coherence in the tactics, and by the difference between what the war the Russians train for and the war that they're actually conducting. I think people were surprised 8 years ago with the efficiency of the Russian army in annexing Crimea, but now they're surprised in the opposite direction with the mistakes and the poor planning that seems to have gone into this thing.
And of course, one of the major worries over the past few days is as we see Putin continue on this path, wanting to double down despite the problems, that he could use something like a tactical nuclear weapon or chemical weapons. What are your thoughts on that, on the real possibility?
Well, what we've learned, having watched Vladimir Putin for 20 plus years now, is that we should never underestimate him. We should never underestimate his willingness to go further than seems feasible. So these threats, we need to take them seriously. There's a lot of talk of tactical nuclear weapons, and we need to be very aware, and I'm sure careful plans are being made for what the response would be. But these are incredibly dangerous times, and Russia has a track record on using chemical weapons as well. So I think the words of President Zelensky this morning, when he warned that what the Russians accuse you of doing, it means that's what they're actually preparing to do. Yeah. We should take that very seriously and worry a lot.
Exactly. That very phrase really stood out to me as well. I mean, it's such a clear statement on what we've seen starkly these past few weeks. Graeme Robertson, thanks so much for joining us.